Started. Let any stragglers come in. Is the mic live? Yep. Okay. Hi. Good. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for coming. We'll go ahead and get started. Just make sure. It's wonderful to see such a great crowd here today. I want to thank all of you for joining us today to talk about this vitally important topic of childcare. I'm Sarah Faust. I'm the Director of Cottington County Community Services. And 2.5 years ago, we did a social services strategic planning where childcare was identified as one of the top issues in our community. We all know that childcare is an issue that affects us across the community, and it's also a major economic development issue. Our workforce suffers if we don't have safe, quality, and affordable childcare. So in true Watertown fashion, our community members have come together to address this complex need. Cottington Connects was established as a result of that strategic planning to provide a uniform format for addressing community needs. Our priority needs, which are all complicated issues, are being addressed using a collective impact model. This model focuses on bringing together a variety of community members to use our resources in the most effective way. So the group that we have here today has been focused on this childcare need. We know that we will only be able to address the complexity of childcare if we work together as a community to develop creative solutions. You'll hear some ideas from Sister Barb with Mother of God Monastery, our Mayor Reed Holeen, and Chris Clifton with the Watertown Development Company. And now I'd like to introduce Pastor Justin Manzi with Family Worship Center to talk about the future of Little Blessings Child Care Center. Pastor.
Thank you, Sarah. Well, I'm Pastor Justin Manzi, and I have the privilege of pastoring Family Worship Center, as well as being a part of Little Blessings Daycare. And our church has had the opportunity to host, and I would say for the Little Blessings for the last 27 years. And it has grown tremendously. And we have right now a 6,000 square footprint that we have been able to use to host this daycare, but we have outgrown our facility. And so we began to pray, what are some of the things that we can do to expand that? And through that process, we thought we could build another building. We could do a lot of different things. And we just realized that, is this the right steps that we need to take, building new buildings and doing all that? And through that process, I actually got together with Sister Barb, and we began to actually talk about different ideas. And so we realized that we had an expansion challenge, and we could not expand any more with the facilities that we had, especially with a growing church. So we, through that process, began to pray and really ask the Lord, what is the next steps for Little Blessings Daycare? We did not want to close it. That's not what our heart was, but we also known that it had outgrown our space. So in that process, and talking with Sister Barb and Harmony Hill and everything that's taking place there, we've come to a point where we see now we're going to transition Little Blessings Daycare to Harmony Hill for the expansion. Like I said, we have a 6,000 square foot footprint, and it's going to be moving to a 14,000 square footprint. And so part of that has been just to be able to celebrate that it's not going to maybe meet the whole need of Watertown, but it's going to make a bigger difference. So this is a hard thing. Like I said, for our church, it's been something we've done for 27 years. And we know the need here, but we also know that the need has to expand because the need is expanding. And as some of you may know, one of the greatest needs keeping people from coming here to Watertown is a child care center. So we're excited to be able to join with Harmony Hill and Sister Barb, and she's going to come up here and share a little bit right now about those plans. So Sister Barb, come on up and share some of those great things that are going to be taking place.
Good afternoon. I can't believe we have so many people in this room. That's awesome. You know, from the beginning, the Child Care Coalition said this: no one entity in Watertown can solve the child care crisis by themselves. It will take a community effort to find the solution. Just looking at as many people are in the chambers right now, this is a great sign that there is agreement, or at least interest in seeing how we can do this. Childcare on Harmony Hill has always been part of the Sisters' vision, as it supports our employees and also the growth we hope for in the larger Watertown community. Pastor Justin was right. We all want Watertown to thrive. That means that people need to want to move here, find a place to live, and bring their kids and families along, but we need childcare. When Pastor Justin contacted me a few months ago, I said, okay, Lord, is this the right time to do this? And after we prayed about it, because I represent all the sisters in our community, we prayed about it. Is this the right time to do this? And it's always the right time to see how you can handle a crisis and come out ahead. With that said, the monastery is very willing to be part of the solution. We have 14,000 square foot of underutilized building. That's in great shape, but it's not ready for kiddos. We have an architectural team that's been working for the last few months diligently to see how we need to renovate this building. We have a cadre of consultants that have been in the childcare business for quite some time and have given us great counsel on how to move forward. And you have a commitment from us to see if we can make this transition and expansion a reality. So it's all possible, but there are other pieces of the solution, and that comes from the community, from parents, from businesses, from employers, from the city of Watertown, from Cottington County. We can't do this alone. So one of the things we will be talking about is raising the necessary funds to make this happen. We don't have the necessary funds just to renovate 14,000 square feet. So that is how the community can be involved in this transfer and expansion. I think what's true about Watertown is that, as Sarah said, we come together. And we come together to solve our own problems. We're not waiting for anybody else to do it. So we know the time is now. It's been unprecedented growth in Watertown, and we want to see that continue. And here's the mayor.
Thank you much, Barb. It's always a pleasure to work with Sister Barb. It's not often you get a chance to work with a nun who is also a Marine. But I also would liken her attitude on this with everyone else that I've already talked to about solving this issue, which is you have the attitude of a Marine, which is being tough to figure out how to get this done, but also the love of other people, the love of God for other people and for the community of Watertown. And that is what's being expressed here. I don't think Sarah was a Marine prior to coming to Cottington Connects, but I know that she is every bit as tough as anybody else in this world about solving the needs for the children and for the people of Watertown. So that I very much love working with people with that same attitude and that same care for the community. Childcare is something that I've been aware of for a while as a very important need for the city of Watertown. I was brought in on talks very early on into this and asking if the city would be interested in doing whatever we could to help, and obviously we are, because I understand that this is very important for the future growth of Watertown, for the businesses of Watertown to stay here, stay competitive, attract people, and it's also a quality of life issue, because if you live here and you have small children, you need to have safe, dependable childcare in order to really enjoy the life that you can have here in Watertown. So it is a quality of life issue, and therefore something that the city is extremely committed to doing what we can to help find a solution. We have already had very serious talks with Sarah and the sisters up at the monastery about what the city could do. I unfortunately can't tell you anything concrete right now, but we will get to there soon. It's really just to express the desire of the city to do whatever we can to work in partnership with all these great people who understand the need of this wonderful community that we have and the vision that we have of solving the problems of the future. Understanding what we need to do in order to solve this is going to take the help of our business community and all of us working together. Fortunately, we are a community that works together to solve our own problems. So While we want a lot of help, we will seek it, we are going to solve our own problem. With that, we do need the help of the business community, and therefore it is my pleasure to introduce Chris Clifton of the Watertown Development Company, who will talk about his aspect of this. Thank you, Chris.
And we know the mayor's a Marine now because he's been anointed. Business doesn't run on Duncan. Business runs on people. And people have babies, and early childhood care, daycare, call it whatever you want to, is a vital, important process in economic development. If I was up here today to tell you we're getting ready to announce that Terex is expanding, going to create 1,000 jobs, we need $1 million for a road, everybody would stand up and applaud. We'd go find $1 million and build a road, would we not? Affordable daycare, early childhood education is a fundamental infrastructure for growth, as the mayor said. So this is a clarion call not only to all of us as taxpayers, but also to the business community. You know, the business community told us a year ago when we started our capital campaign, hey, what's important? Affordable housing, housing options, affordable daycare, early childhood education, et cetera, et cetera. Those are the priorities. 10 years ago in my profession, it was roads, sewer, water, natural gas, aviation, new link to another airport so we can move people in and out. Today is providing affordable early childhood education. And as everyone before me has told you, there's not a silver bullet. But I am telling you that business and industry need to step up today and be a part of this call to make this happen. We're not only impacting 134 children in this initiative, but we're impacting 100 families. I was at a manufacturing company early this morning. 50% of the workforce, heavy manufacturing, 50% is female in that workforce. And they're making $30 an hour. Good jobs. But I look around and I think, how could I take off a year to have a baby, nurture a child, and then have to spend a fifth of my income to support that in sometimes a one head of household childhood family? So again, let me emphasize the fact that this is not just a government issue, this is an issue for business and industry. And if Watertown wants to be on the bleeding edge of creating new jobs, taking care of the jobs that you have today, we need to make sure that that 37.5% of the population that works in manufacturing has access to early childhood education and daycare. So we're going to be knocking on doors. We're going to be asking for the order, and it's going to be important for each of you in your own circles of influence to get out and spread the word. This is not going to be the end all. We're not going to raise a couple $1 million and solve the problem, but this is a start. And with the opportunity with our existing daycare providers, I think that we'll see this coalition grow, and you'll see more initiatives like this that come forward. Thank you very much. Sarah.
Okay. Wow. I just have to take a minute and say wow, because we have a great group of people coming together here. We as a community will address this issue. I'm sure this isn't the transition plan that a lot of people expected coming here today, but I'm very optimistic that this transition plan is going to get us to our next level of where we need to go. So we are really grateful to have the kind of community that works together to develop a transition plan like this. The commitment of the monastery and the other partners in this effort means that Watertown will face this situation with a united front. The path forward won't be easy. There's going to be a lot of challenges as we move forward. But as we mentioned, childcare is complicated. And so making quality childcare affordable and sustainable is the reason that we see the problem. Sorry, let me start that sentence over. Making quality childcare affordable and sustainable is the reason that we see problems with childcare across the nation. However, we are determined to come together locally to find solutions to work for Watertown. If you've heard nothing else today, I think all of us have said it about 4 times. We are a community that works together, and that's what we're doing to address this childcare issue. In addition to what you see here, there are other local efforts happening to continue to address the childcare crisis. Lake Area Tech is working to expand their Educare program. A new coalition has been created to support quality in-home childcare providers. Other options are being explored to expand childcare to better meet the need. And we're working on a partnership to become an early learner community. There's a lot of things happening, a lot of wheels turning right now. Watertown Area Community Foundation has also generously agreed to partner in the childcare efforts by accepting donations for a childcare capital campaign expansion. This will allow us to support the diversity of options that we need in numerous and amazing ways. Watertown is proving once again what a great community we are. I can't tell you enough how proud I am to be born and raised in a community that comes together like this. So in addition to all of that, we'd love to have you join us for a town hall meeting to discuss childcare more in depth on May 15th at 5:30 p.m. at Lake Area Technical Student Union on the 4th floor. At that meeting, we'll review the report by the childcare consultant that was hired by the Watertown Development Company through funding that was received through a planning grant from the Governor's Office of Economic Development. We will also discuss other efforts that are happening to address the childcare crisis in our community. We'd now like to take some time to ask questions about the transition plan and any other questions you may have regarding childcare in our community right now. Questions from anyone? It's a lot of information. Silent? Okay. Yeah, opportunity for questions. Yes, JT. We expect it to be the start of a larger effort. We know that in order to meet the current need that we already have in the community, that we have to start with this effort through the monastery, but we also know that the other pieces are just as vital, like the expansion of Educare and looking at some of the other opportunities that we have. So there will be more to come, and that's part of the conversation that we'll have at that town hall meeting on May 15th. Yeah. Yes, please do.
You know, one of the things that is, I guess, a kind of a sense of urgency is the fact that we want to try and transition Little Blessings before the end of 2024. So the urgency around that piece is there. There's lots of reasons for anybody who's in finance or accounting or taxes. You can just take that right there. It is a big lift to renovate 14,000 square feet of building. We're not ready for little kiddos, and so it is going to take a renovation, a true renovation of that building to make it ready for kiddos. So that takes some time. The plans have already been created. They've already been submitted, and so we're well underway to making that happen. And so part of this is catching up with the crisis and the urgency. So this, you could maybe consider this phase one if you wanted to assign it that way. But we know there's endless phases, quite honestly, especially once we expand, right? Then there's more jobs being created. And we know that we don't want that to stop. So we know that this is just the leading edge of creating a way forward together so that there are opportunities for people to move to Watertown, have their babies here, and raise them here. And so that's an important piece, I think, in the overall picture, just the beginning.
Yeah.
Of the 14,000 square feet, how much is going to be dedicated strictly to childcare?
All of it.
All 14,000.
Yep.
I want to address an elephant in the room because I've heard over and over, and this was my first reaction when Sister Barb told me the plan, but it's so far out of town. And then she was like, listen, I'm from LA. And then I was like, oh, perspective. It's really 5 minutes out of town. And with the new development that they've had and the new road, we see that people will drive for quality childcare. And so while it is on the edge of town, it is still right within our boundaries and our limits. It's on the bypass for the factories out there. And also all of the people coming in from south of town that come in on Highway 81. And so We're confident that bringing in a new quality childcare will help address this gap and that the location, along with the other housing expansion that's happening on that land, will be an easy barrier to overcome. Pastor.
They said the same thing for seniors as well. It's full. It's completely full up there.
Right, right.
Assisted living and for the nursing homes.
Mhm.
Well, how many kids are on your waiting list?
Ours?
No.
For
Over 100.
over 100.
So, yeah, there's a need. Yeah.
Can I get you to say the 14,000 on the recording?
The 14,000 square foot of building that we'll renovate will be able to care for 200 children. And that is the only thing that'll be in that 1,400 square foot building. 14,000, excuse me. Besides our maintenance shop happens to be at the edge of that building. I just want to say that our land, the sisters' land, is in the city of Watertown. So we happen to be the southernmost edge of Watertown. So we are in Watertown. Only a couple miles.
Kind of what your vision is for, before school or after school care and what you're all encompassing.
So I don't have those figures for you today, but what we want to do on the 15th is to be able to show you the plans, to show you the breakdown of the kids by age. We know that the school district has made some changes to the elementary school system, and there's some things in flux. So as we work towards a transition, we need to be able to be in flux too. So whether we'll serve after-school kids or how we'll end up doing that, we haven't worked out all those details. So that's why we're not opening next week. Okay, that's why we're taking our time to do it right. Sustainable. For childcare to be sustainable, you really got to have a business model. You really got to drill down into efficiencies and how does this really work. So our consultants that were referred to earlier, they have been incredibly wonderful on those kinds of things because it is a business. Is it a business where you're making 20% profit margin? No way. But it is a business where you're taking care of other people's kids. I don't know if there's a more important job, but it has to be sustainable. So we have to be smart businessmen and women here in this regard. So as we transition and get all the business plans, we will be having more discussions about all the different pieces and parts and what level of age groups, but we will be expanding greatly in the infant care range, that's for sure. And we will be a licensed facility, so those who need subsidized care, you will absolutely be welcomed into this facility. Well, we'll see how that ends up. I personally like Little Blessings an awful lot, being a sister, just saying. But we'll see as we transition if we keep that name or not. So it may be Little Blessings at Harmony Hill. I don't know. But it will be daycare, and it'll be good quality daycare.
And I just wanted to add something that I want to make it very clear that this isn't just about Little Blessings. The group that has been working on childcare has been working on this for a long time. Little Blessings was just the component that made this urgent to have the press conference because we want to calm the fears of the community and assure everyone that we are working on a solution, because if news broke that was not accurate, that created a little bit of hysteria or panic, imagine the impact that this would have on every single child care and family that has young children in this town. We wanted to get out ahead of this in particular, but to assure people that this is just one part of a larger solution that we are working on. So thank you.
Yes.
Sarah, you mentioned that several people mentioned that the business community is going to have to be a part of this.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, how will the business community be contacted? Will it be a phone call, a knock on their door, something they get in the mail? Will there be different giving options? And do you go into this with a ballpark dollar amount
That's a great question. And oh, yeah. So, yes, sorry. The question is, how is the the business community going to be approached for this ask, and will it be a ballpark or a specific dollar amount? And I'm actually going to turn that question over to the business people. Barb, do you want to answer? Chris, do you want to answer? Thank you.
I think the easy answer is the asks are going to be formal and informal. There will be giving arrangements over time. Obviously, we have a need for the capital funds now to do the renovation, so we're not really going to see 20-year commitments, but we're going to ask for some commitments beyond just the first year. As far as how we ask, there's going to be a team of people within this Child Care Coalition that will be coalescing all of the data that we have to show you what the return is. Because if you're like me, I want to know if I'm going to put my company's money in the project, I want to know what the results are and what the expectations are. So we have that data. I think a lot of the questions that you've asked are going to be answered at the press conference that when we unveil the bigger picture. But to hone in on the specific answer, we'll be knocking on doors. There'll be some articles that we'll produce. There'll be some direct mail campaign activities as well, talking about the bigger picture of affordable daycare and early childhood education within this marketplace. But I don't think anybody's going to go without being discovered. I've already volunteered a couple of days in June to stay out in front of Hy-Vee with a bucket and a bell. So,
It's a really big bucket.
yeah, so I'll have a sheet and I'll pass it around. We'll get everybody else to sign up that's in the room to do it too. Thank you.
All right. Oh, the amounts. Do you want to give ballpark?
Can always give a ballpark. So what is true, if you take a 14,000 square foot building at $120 a square foot, you get close to $2 million. There are things that we need to put up there on the hill. And Educare's amount is about $1 million. Our amount is about $2 million because we're renovating a bigger place. So we're looking in the $3 million mark if we were going to head off in both directions. And Educare is still on this, is still an impetus for this effort. Remember that Educare helps educate the providers that will be in our daycare centers. So that's their important piece right there. They're not going to have a center as large as ours, but they are going to be producing the providers. And that is a really important piece. And we'll have more to say. May 15th, we'll be able to show you more plans. Like I said, the plans are at the state already, and we'll have been taking bids. So we'll have a good estimate of the cost to do our building, for sure. And Cam's already got some good costs for their building at Roosevelt. So, excuse me, I do that every time. I get them mixed up. Garfield, so.
Again, childcare is complicated. These pieces are the first. We know that in addition to the capital campaign that we'll have to talk about long-term sustainability, which again, we'll go into more on that May 15th meeting, talking about that. Go ahead.
So will the existing building still be used as daycare, or will it be closed and be transitioned like that?
Yeah. Do it. Yes, that's a great question. What the plan is for that. Oh, sorry. Will the existing building still be used for the same thing, or what will happen with the existing building at Family Worship Center?
Yeah, so right now, part of the challenge that has been even with that is that we've been growing as a church, and it's been exciting for us. But as you can see, we're actually clashing into each other, and so we are actually into the main part of our church, into our lobby area that we use every week. So at this point, we're trying to expand our church and even our own children's ministry and our own offices and classrooms that we need at this point. So there are some plans that we've talked about that may come into existence after we do this transition. But I think the biggest thing is right now, the reason why we're doing this transition is because to be able to start from scratch is one thing, but to start from scratch with no management team, no policies, nothing would take a long time. And right now, it is a challenge even to get employees. And the reason why this is important is that they also have at Harmony Hill, they have people that are already ready to volunteer there, but we're going to be taking our existing staff, our existing policies, our intellectual properties, and being able to start right away there at Harmony Hill. So they're not starting from scratch, and they're starting with already a team ready to function and ready to go with that expansion.
I had one last one. I don't mean to bring it down. So there's been lots of mention of Harmony Hill being further away. So how much further is Harmony Hill from emergency services than the existing daycare?
That's a good question. Yeah, it's about 3 miles. So it's really, how far is Harmony Hill from emergency services? What? Well, no, I mean, again, Watertown, it's all perspective. Yeah, it's all perspective, but really it's a few minutes. And it's getting across Watertown takes 10 minutes. So, yeah, Reed, you might have more.
I'm definitely not the expert here, but Chief Rowland and the Watertown Fire Rescue people test this every single year. And if you are inside the city of Watertown limits and even outside of it, they make certain that they can get there and back well within the time frame of dealing with an emergency. So I understand that while this being on the southern end might cause some concern, from the Watertown Fire Rescue people, it is something that they have been planning on dealing with for a long time. And especially with the development going on, believe me, the development would not be going on without the quality of life of safety and public safety and fire and all of that stuff. So it is something that I'm certain our great people at Watertown Fire Rescue have considered and made appropriate measures for.
Mayor, quick question, well, two-part question. When you were asked as mayor if the city would be welcome to come on board and be part of this, was that an easy decision? And secondly, what role does childcare play in population growth and economic growth from a city perspective in your mind?
And I could ask Chris to come up too as well like that, but when I was approached on this, as I said, well before we had anything concrete, it was an extremely easy thing to get on board with because I know how vital it is for the future growth of Watertown. Because our businesses could hire a lot more people, but if those people have young children or are planning on having young children, that is a quality of life issue that they will certainly choose other communities that have childcare better taken care of than Watertown. So that was very easy to get on board with. And then also the quality of life of having safe, dependable childcare. Extremely easy for me to get on board with. And I know that the hearts of the council are also in finding out a solution. What was the second part of your question, Mike?
What role does childcare play in population growth?
Oh.
Expanding the tax base, economic growth?
Well, it's absolutely vital because, as I alluded to previously, if you are a young couple that either has young children or are planning on having young children, you will locate in a community that has good people working on solutions for this. So not only do you bring the couple in and the family, you also then get all of their children into the Watertown school system and growing the population twofold that way. And then they also bring in their families. It's extremely vital. In fact, that and housing are two combined items that if Watertown does not get out ahead in finding solutions on childcare and housing, Watertown will not grow at the capacity that we certainly can and desire to.
Okay, thank you all for coming. We appreciate you taking the time. Let us know if you have any questions. And yeah, again, it's great to see such a wonderful group of people here today. Thank you.